What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Stuart here again, Tactical Survival Training. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to cover, this is going to be a prelude to some knife disarming techniques we're going to show later on in the course. But today's lesson we're going to be covering principles behind knife defense, also related to pistol and firearm disarming and defense, and some of the psychological aspects and some training tips for you to think about and incorporate when you're training your knife defense. So first off, I really need to cover an important point related to just the mind frame and training and philosophy behind knife defense and knife disarms. You know, knife defense. And in any situation, a realistic situation where someone's going to attack you with a knife fighting situation, a home invasion where someone's trying to cut you with a butcher knife, things like that. The dynamic nature of those, it's very, very hard to train to really be able to defend every situation and everything that you could encounter. I mean, there's almost an infinite number of angles of attack, types of different knives, blade length, you know, fixed versus a folding knife. There's a lot of variations in what you could see and what you could really be attacked with, other than training in the dojo and doing the same. If I do this, you do this, and if I do this, I'll disarm it like this. You know, so the really important thing that I want to get across is that mentally and psychologically, when you are thinking about how to defend against the knife, and in your training, you need to know ahead of time and realize, understand, accept that you're gonna be cut. Okay, so why this is important is that if you train with someone and an instructor, and they tell you, you know, that if you do it this way and if you train enough that you will successfully defend the knife and that you won't get cut, you know. The problem with that situation is that if you really did get in a knife fight situation or a knife defense situation and you got cut, maybe severely cut, when you see that cut and you feel that pain and that blood and you see what happened, you're immediately going to doubt your training and what you were taught. And instead of you fighting back ferociously and using all of your talent, energy focused on the #1 goal, which is eliminating that threat and that knife so you can survive, you're immediately going to be, you know, feeling fear because you've been ingrained and taught that you're going to be able to defend the knife, you know. So point #1, already know and understand, realize, accept you are going to be cut with a knife. Then if you do ever, you know, get in that position where you have to defend against the knife, if you get cut, it's only going to be motivation. You know, you already knew ahead of time that you're going to be cut. Now it's, you cut me, I have to eliminate this threat to survive, you know? So that small psychological change and just thinking when you're approaching knife defense can make a huge difference in you being able to apply the techniques in defense in a real scenario, you know? So that's tip #1. Tip #2 really needs to discuss the types of knives, you know? A lot of times you will see in a lot of systems and techniques that you have a fixed blade knife that you're defending against. Okay, so a fixed blade knife, for instance, is going to be a knife like this here that the blade is fixed into the handle. So there's no dynamic nature, there's no movement with this. Okay, this is a very powerful knife, very good for survival to have a fixed blade because you don't have to worry about the blade moving around if you have to cut anything that's very dense and you're worried about the blade moving anywhere, or if you need to be very, very violent with this knife, having a fixed blade is a very good option to have. Okay, the only thing with a fixed blade, and let's just relate it to self-defense, is that for me to have this fixed blade, I need to be either carrying it, I need to have it in a protective sheath that's attached to my body, my belt or something like that, or I'm going to be kind of hiding it behind my back. Okay, all three of those options makes this not a very easy thing to hide, right? If I want to carry this around and attack with this, if I don't have the sheath to actually set it in, you know, it's going to be out already. So for me to put this in my pocket, I have the danger of cutting myself. Okay, so more times than not, you're gonna encounter people with a folding blade, you know, with a pocket knife. And to be totally honest with you, almost every single male that I know carries a pocket knife, you know, of some sort. And a lot of them carry fixed blades as well. So I think that's very important when you're thinking about knife defense, because if the knife is already out and you're seeing this, it's totally different defensive mechanisms and techniques than if this is in a sheath and then I'm pulling it out, right? So a folding knife, for instance, you know, that generally has a clip on it where you would clip in a pants pocket, on your belt. You know, it's going to have different things where you can flick the blade out like this. Some of them have actually spring assist where you barely touch it, bang, and the thing's already popping out, you know. So the mechanics behind this as well is that it's going to be folded up and clipped to something, right? So if the knife is not out yet, we're defending against the knife even coming out, right? That's something a lot of knife defense systems miss, is that I don't want to be in that situation at all, you know? If someone is going to attack me with a fixed blade, I see the fixed blade out, I'm running straight. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm gonna grab anything that creates separation between me, a bar stool, you know, a chair, a table, anything that can create separation. If I'm in a confined area, if I'm in an open area, I'm gone. I'm out, you know, because like I said in the intro in Temp 1, is that you can expect to be cut. Well, I don't want to be cut, right? So think about that, you know, like when you're training, don't just think about this is the technique and if I do it like this and this is how my instructor showed me. Think about it more logically and you know, be creative with it. How is the situation going to happen? You know, if someone's already has the knife out and they're coming at you, get out of the situation. If they're bigger, stronger, athletic, and running faster than you, then you might have to defend, and then it would behoove you to be carrying, have a concealed carry permit, and have a pistol on you. That could save your life, you know. But that's a whole other topic, and we will cover that kind of material. So, again, fixed blade versus a folding type blade. The mechanics are a little bit different on how you defend, you know, and then as well the mechanics are going to be different how you disarm and defend if the knife is already out versus if it's still on your body and still needs to be pulled out and utilized as a weapon, you know. So you know, we got tip 1 there is that expect to be cut. You know, 2. You got to know the difference between the knives and the difference between where the knife is at and range. Okay, that's really important. And the third thing I'd like to talk about related to knife disarming and pistol and gun disarming is that you know, if you have a gun and it's a close range defensive situation, so make a gun butt you put in your face, grab you, they're going to take you somewhere, abduct you, or you're in a bank robbery situation where someone's got you hostage and a gun up to your head. In my opinion, and this is only my opinion, is that it is easier to defend against a knife, a gun, close range than it is a knife. And I'll tell you why. Because the gun, right, if you look at the physics behind it, there's a projectile bullet that comes out of the gun, and it comes down a chamber, you know. So, for instance, in this you know 9mm here, when I have this, you know, pointed like this, the bullet's going to come straight out of the 9mm like that, right? So if my head and brain and vital organs are not in the straight line, I'm fairly safe, and it's going to be much safer to grab, control, and disarm this gun where I know where the bullet is going to go, right? So let's compare that to a knife, right? Knife is out. I don't have much to grab onto here. I have to grab and control on the wrist, which is going to be a little bit harder to control than grabbing on the barrel of the receiver of the pistol. Also, there's an infinite number of angles that this could attack from. Either hand, backhand, forward hand slash, driving forward, ice pick, you know, underhand. It's much harder to defend because you don't know where it's going to be, you know. So the bullet you can prepare, you know where it's going to be. Although it's very, very deadly, it's easier to be able to redirect clear the shot and defend that versus trying to control and grab someone's wrist in a dynamic, this knife is flying all over the place, you know? A 13-year-old kid could kill you with a knife and maybe not kill you with a gun if they don't know how to load it properly and take the safety off and rack it back, all of those things, you know? So in my opinion, when you're in a close range fight or an abduction scenario, or you're inside that range where you can touch each other, you're in close, elbow strikes would land from this distance. The knife, in my opinion, is going to be harder to defend against. Now, when you get into a certain range, so you're separated far enough now, the knife has nothing on the gun, obviously, right? And when you're in that range, you know, I get this question a lot when I teach seminars related to tactical defense and defending against the pistol. Well, what if I was back here and I had the weapon on you? Well, there's no defense for that, you know? Like, you're either going to get shot or you're not going to get shot, you know? That's what happens. So you need to either entice them to get within disarming range, or they're gonna willingly walk up and put themselves in disarming range, you know? So that is really important, range, you know? I mean, you can't just think about it as this is a knife, and if they swing it like this is how I defend it. And if they go like this is how I defend it. That will get you hurt and get you killed, because you're gonna have a false confidence in thinking that, you know, man, if I do it like this and they attack like this, I'm going to be okay. You can't ever predict the dynamic nature of a fight and how that's really going to, you know, play out in the real life scenario. So we will be covering some knife disarms and edge weapon defense and stuff like that. But I do want to mention that how I view knife defense is not that what I teach you is the end all be all and this is the system and this is how you're going to do it. I want you to have options to be able to use. So if someone did attack like this, then you are going to be, you know, efficient in that particular technique and movement and know how to defend against that. You know, my big philosophy on self-defense in general, especially related to weapons defense, is it's not about the individual techniques. It's about a core set of values and principles that everything builds off of. You know, very similar to Bruce Lee's philosophy about being a dynamic fighter and not putting yourself in just one discipline and that's all you believe in. So his take on that was that if I just studied karate and that's all that I thought about, that's all that I trained, my mind defaults and thinks about karate. So in a situation where I need to fight and defend myself, all my options are karate. Okay, well, what if I get a guy that's bigger than me, you know, boom, double leg takedown, ends up on top of me. I've never trained off of my back before. I'm in big trouble, you know. So Bruce Lee's philosophy was that you should be willing and open enough to look at all martial arts or all weapon disarms, pull from them what you think is the most valuable for you and your body type, your athletic ability, and incorporate that into what you know. So when you're thinking about the pistol and gun disarms, you know, and relating it to the core principles and beliefs that you want to set up all of your training around, you know, let's look at the pistol, for instance, or the handgun. You know, one of the most important things, and number one, is clearing the shot, right? Clearing the shot simply means that what I do with my body, my movement, and what I grab and control is going to put the line of sight of that weapon and the path of that bullet out of my range, you know? And I don't need to move very much to be able to do that, you know? Clearing the shot, and then controlling the weapon, you know? So there's some systems that they grab and control the weapon and they punch, right? That's fine. I personally want a 2-on-1 control of the gun, and this is only from my training. You know, I'm a big advocate of testing. You know, I do a lot of disarms, and I just test them with people of different sizes. And if I can't get them, you know, the chances for common individuals that don't have a lot of training in this type of area are not going to be able to do this. You know, so if I have problems with it, I know I need to modify or change something around. You know, so for me, I don't want to do one control on the weapon and attack immediately. You know, let me change how I worded that. I do want to control the weapon and attack immediately, but I want 2-on-1 control. So 2-on-1 control simply means I have two hands on one wrist, one gun, one hand, one arm. I'm going to have a more dominant and strength control over the weapon if I have 2-on-1. Then, by having 2-on-1, I can control the most dangerous thing in that scenario, which is a gun that could kill me. And then I can work on headbutting into the face and kicking into the groin and kneeing and you know, and then manipulating the wrist and arm, getting pain response to get the weapon away. But in any instance where I'm going to grab the receiver of the gun and then punch, that's giving them space, and I'm putting energy into them that's separating us apart, which is what I don't want with the gun. I want that gun close and past me, so I can't get shot with that bullet. So I appreciate you listening to my intro today on knife defense, knife disarming, and tune back in. We're going to cover some really cool stuff. Once again, thank you for watching, and tactical survival training, baby. It's all here.